What is up, guys? It is Zach Plochet, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a full walkthrough on how to set up a Django project on hosted on Heroku and be serving the static and media files using AWS S3. So let's get right into it. First thing I'm going to do is share my screen. We're going to create a new folder called Django Heroku S3 tutorial, just like that. I'm going to right click and open with code. So I'm going to be creating a basic blog as I have in my other tutorials, but this time I'm going to be doing everything all at once. So let's get this up. We're going to be saying, so first we're going to create our virtual environment. So I'm going to say pip env shell. That's going to create that. And let's see. So while that's there, grab this guy. All right, yeah, so that will be created. We will be saying pip install the following. So pay attention because I'm going to install everything right at the beginning. So for Django, we're going to need Django and pillow, Django extensions to generate a secret key. And I believe that's it as far as like what Django actually needs here. Now we're going to use, so the next ones are going to be what we need for Heroku. So for Heroku, we're going to need the package Django underscore on Heroku, or dash is equally fine. We're going to need Gunicorn. We're going to need python.env, python-decouple. Let's see, anything else I'm missing there? No, that should be it. And for AWS S3, we're going to need Django-storages, storages, and Django, or and Bodo 3. So these should be all of the packages that we need for this build. Yeah, so that is all going there. Let's see. All right, so once that's done, now if we say pip freeze, it should give us a list of all of our installs, and I want to make sure we're using Django 4.0, just like, yep, we are. So that's all the modern packages. So let's go ahead and create our project. I'm going to say Django admin start project config dot. So yeah, that'll create our settings in manage.py. And also I'm going to create my app py manage.py start app and blog. And actually, because there's also Mac users, we're going to say python manage.py start app blog. Alrighty, so that is cool. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll start with our settings on this video because this part will get a bit tricky. Or this is actually where most of this is relevant, just to getting it on AWS S3 and Heroku. So in our main settings file, well, we're actually going to change the, we're going to immediately change how we build our settings. So we're going to create a new folder. We're going to create a folder for settings and then put an init.py inside of here. We're going to take our settings.py file, drag it in here, rename it to base for our base settings. And these are going to be where our main settings are. Now, I'm going to create two more files, dev.py, which is for our development server, and production.py or prod.py for production. And inside of both of these, I'm going to be saying the following. I'm going to say from.base import star. So we have all of these settings from base.py, bring that in production as well. And we're going to have it here as well. Now, inside of this base.py, we're going to do a few things. The first, make sure to add an extra parent at the top here. Otherwise, your database and any media files or whatever will be at the wrong spot and it will be very confusing. Next, I'm just going to delete these comments here because they're only helpful when you're first learning. But we're going to grab the secret key, debug, and allowed host, paste them in both the dev.py and production.py files. So now this part is a bit neater. And at the top of our file, we're going to import a few things. We're going to say from Python, from decouple, import config. And also, if you want these yellow lines to go away, you're going to click the Python at the bottom left of your VS Code, and you can set the Python environment. I'm going to do Django Heroku S3 tutorial. So you set it there, and now that underline goes away because your coding, your editor's environment is matched up with your virtual environment. So we're going to say also from .env import find.env or load.env find.env, and we're also going to import DJ database URL, which is required to use Heroku's database. So let's see. We're going to go down. Oh, inside of this installed apps, because we already made our blog, we're going to add our blog here. And above this, we're going to add a few things. So there are actually only a couple. So Django extensions and storages, I believe, is all we need there. So yep. Next, let's get to our database. So get rid of all of this part up to default. Then we're going to say right here, DJ database URL dot config. Then here we're going to set a default. So default, make sure you spell that right, SQLite // after that, and db.sqlite3, like so. So that way we can still use our local server whenever we're whenever we're building our project on development. And we're going to add another setting, con max age equals, I normally set this to, I think, 600. So yeah, that just, so what this setting does is it tells the database how long you want to keep the connection open whenever you're reaching it, or whenever you're trying to use it to get data and do stuff like that. At least I think. I'm not an expert on databases, but I believe that is the case. So above this, we're going to use the following: load.env and find.env. What these do is these are kind of like shortcut functions to find a .env file if you're using that, or otherwise to load environment variables into your code. So yeah, that's really useful. And the reason we're using DJ database URL is to connect to the database in Heroku, which I might have already said. But either way, now you double know. So static URL, we're going to set static root here. And actually, so this is also going to be something that is changing. So now we're going to add our AWS S3 files to make sure, or settings, I should say, to make sure that these are working. Amazon AWS S3, or just Amazon S3 settings. These are going to be the following. Let's see. So starting from the top, AWS access key ID is equal to, we're going to be using, typically we're going to be using environment variables to do this sort of a thing. So I will show you the secure way to do it, and I'll also show you just the values that you'll want to put here. So the easy way, or the way that I'll recommend to you now, is you can put it in a string, or what we're going to do is say config and AWS access key ID, like so. This is going to make it to where we're using our virtual environment to store our environment variables to store our more secure data. And yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. Like, we're just not going to be writing this directly in the file because you may not want anyone or everyone who accesses your project on, like, let's say GitHub, if it's like a public thing or not. You don't want all of your sensitive information to be easily accessible. So that makes sure that this is secure. Then we're going to say AWS secret key, or what is it? Secret access key. Secret access key equals config. Of course, the same name. Secret access key, like so. Then we're going to have our AWS storage bucket name. That's going to be the name of your bucket. So same thing, config. Let's see, AWS storage bucket name, like so. And if you want to find out where I got all of these, that would be in the documentation for Django storages. So if you just Google that, it will be there. I will leave a link in the description. So, right here, next setting, AWS S3 custom domain equals F string. Then you're going to say AWS storage bucket name. And this is to build the URL that we're going to be sending our files to and serving them from. So Amazon, Amazon AWS.com. That's going to build that domain name. Next, AWS default ACL equals public read. Now, this part is super duper important because if you're using Django to use something like a blog or things where your files need to be publicly viewable, and you want to have like images, for example, if you want those images to not eventually be put to private, this is at least the best way that I've found to do it and consistently keep them public. So yeah, this is a really useful setting if you're trying to build a basic blog, which we are. So next thing, AWS S3 object parameters equals catch control max age equals 86400. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly what this does. I assume it has something to do with how long, I guess, local storage stores their stuff. I don't know. I'm not an expert here, but normally I add this, and I think I got it from the tutorial that I took at least the AWS S3 part from, which I will leave in the description as well. So let's see. AWS location equals static AWS query string auth is equal to false. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly what that one does either. So yeah, AWS headers just, it works. AWS headers, access, control, allow, origin, set that to anything. And that is roughly all of your default AWS S3 settings. We will make some changes to our static files and most likely move this to our production folder because we're only going to be using AWS S3 in production. So that's cool. And I'll show you how to split that out as well. So here we're going to be doing, let's see. So here's what's next. For AWS, we'll also need the following for our static files. We're going to say default file storage is equal to storages.backends.s3 boto3.s3 boto3 storage, like that. And this makes it to where whenever we upload a media file to our project, it gets pushed to AWS S3. So yeah, that also gets pushed to our S3 bucket because otherwise your media files will be on Heroku, which will disappear within at least a day or until you push to Heroku again, because Heroku's file system is ephemeral, which means that any files that you upload there besides the file that's on your GitHub will disappear after a certain amount of time. Now, let's do the next one. So for your actual static files, we're going to say static files storage equals storages.backends.s3 photo3.s3 static storage, like so. I don't think I had any typos, so yep, looks like we're good. And that's how your admin and any CSS or JavaScript files that you add to your project in a static folder will end up there. That's not everything though. So the last parts are we're going to set the static URL to https at our AWS S3 custom domain here. Then if I could spell that right, there we go. Then say /static / copy this, change that to media there. And at the end of that, we're going to say media, like so. Now, that is every single setting that we will need for having AWS S3 on our project. So we're going to grab all these, put these in production underneath allowed hosts, and now we will have these here. And also, while we're here and inside of dev, in development, you can keep the secret key as whatever, because on development, the secret key doesn't matter quite as much. So you can keep it as this. You can change it to like ABC or anything simple, but you can also just leave it like it is here. Debug, of course, is going to equal true. Allowed host is going to equal star. And our static files will be served from a different place on development. So to do this, we're going to say static URL is equal to static, then / and static root is going to equal base directory / static files, like so. Now, in production, this is going to be slightly different. So we're going to say secret key. We imported this into our other file, but I'm going to do it again just so you can remember. From decouple import config secret key. And that's going to get the secret key from our environment variable, because that's how you make your secret key secure, even though Django doesn't tell you that by default, or at least they don't show you how to do that. So this Python decouple package is really awesome. Of course, in production, debug should be false for security reasons, and you don't want people to see all of your file paths and whatever. Allowed hosts, here you're going to type the actual name of your website, so mywebsite.com, or for our sake, we're going to say Zach P. Django Heroku S3 .herokuapp.com. So that's where this is going to exist, or I might just call it again Zach P. Basic Django blog.herokuapp.com. Yeah, I think that name's available. So let's do the next part. We have, all of these settings. Yep. That looks fine. While we're in production, let's go ahead and say the following. Import Django on Heroku. We're going to go right at the bottom, say Heroku settings, just so you always know where to find it, right at the bottom. We're going to say Django on Heroku.settings. Then we're going to say locals here. And I believe that's all we actually need. So let's just try this. Then we're going to say right below it, because this solves a really strange error that for some reason pops up with Heroku's database and DJ database URL, which is the package we imported in our base.py file. So typically you have to use, I believe it's, let's see, let me just double check this really quick. So I think it's default. Okay, yeah, give me just 1 second. All right, so on this part, we're going to say delete database, or databases default. Open this up, options. Inside of here, SSL mode, just like this. And that should be everything you need in the production file. We will also be adding logging. And that is done by adding a pretty big chunk of code that I'm just going to paste and then kind of leave it here just so you can see it. So let's do that. I'm going to copy this. All right, if my computer doesn't freeze up. All right, so I'm going to copy this right here underneath our AWS S3 settings. I'm going to paste this. Oh, wait, boop, right here. So that's going to be that. I'm going to call this Heroku logging. I'm going to scroll down. So you can pause the video on this specific part. I'll zoom out a bit just so you can see all of this code. What this does is by default, you won't see Django errors in the Heroku logs. This makes it to where that is able to actually work. So yeah, once you add this, it will be working properly, just like you should expect. And you'll be able to see the Django errors that you get, if any, so your app will be much easier to debug. So that's nice. Let's see here. Yeah, so now we can get rid of the static URL and we're good there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much every single setting that we need in our file. So yeah, after this, if you were having any problems, Well, okay, so let's go to the next step. We set up our settings. Because we set up this new file structure, if we want our app to work, we will need to go to manage.py, change this to .dev. So that's one spot. Let's see here. We're going to go to WSGI, go here, .dev here, and go to this file and say .dev. The reason is we changed our directory for where our settings are going to run from, and we want it to be by default config settings.dev because normally we want to run this on our development server. And we have this environment variable that our project is going to take from. So on Heroku, we're going to set this to point towards config settings.prod on all of these different files. So yeah, this will make it work on local. And if it doesn't, then, or if your app isn't working, then this is on your local computer, then this is going to most likely be the reason why after we set up our settings like so. So also, let's go ahead and build our blog now. So let's create our models. I'm going to say class blog post models.model. We're going to say title equals models.character field. Whoops, character, oh, car field, like that. Max length equals 255. Body equals models.text field. Image equals models.image field. Upload to, and we're going to say blog images like such. And also blank equals true in case you want to have these without images. We're going to set the title or the string for this to self, the string representation of our blog post to self.title. That way we can see it in our admin, which we're going to set up now. So from .models, import blog post, then say admin.site.register our blog posts. Boom. Alrighty. Let's go to our views. We're going to create a basic view here. So define home, pass in a request, get our blog posts from .models, import blog posts. Now we're going to say posts is equal to, you know what, we're not even going to do that. We're just going to do something extremely simple. Return, render, request, home.html, which is going to be our file, our template. And we're just going to add here posts and then blog post.objects.all. So we're going to have access to all of our blog posts here. Now, that should be everything that we need for our blog itself. So let's go ahead and try to run py manage.py, make migrations, double ampersand py manage.py migrate. So that way you can run both of these at the same time, or not at the same time, but one after the other. All right, so Django extensions. Why does it think we don't have that installed? Pip install Django extensions. Oh wait, pip install Django extensions. That's weird. Settings base. Oh wait, I think in here it's underscore. So Django underscore extensions. Let's try that again. All right, yeah, so now that is working properly. And boom, nice. Oops. Oh, I typed in, what? Oh, I think I pasted that big old chunk of logging code, and that's why it gave us that. Let me just CLS here. All righty, so now that we have this in place, we're going to do the following to make our app work on, well, so the first thing, if we do, well, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do the Heroku stuff first. So Heroku requires a couple of files in order to get it working properly, or in order to upload in the first place. So with that, we're going to add the following. We're going to create our proc file. In here, this is just a file that runs commands as you're pushing your Django project up to Heroku. So we're going to say web. We're going to say Python manage.py, migrate, double ampersand, gunicorn. And actually, let me check my other project here. So gunicorn and then config.wsgi. So the reason that this is config.wsgi is because I named the file that has our settings in WSGI file config. So if it's something else, you just say whatever your file name is and WSGI to point towards this file. So Gunicorn knows where to look. So that's all we need for that one. We're going to need our runtimes.txt, or sorry, runtime.txt. Like this. And this is where we're going to give our specific file Python version that we're going to be using. So to find this, you will open up your Chrome or whatever your browser is. You're going to type in Heroku, Django, or Python runtimes. And their documentation is a bit weird here. So we're going to click on, let's see, specifying a Python runtime, which their documentation is kind of weird here. So yeah, you have to go to this page and scroll to the bottom and then actually find the supported Python runtimes. And now on this page, they will be right here under specifying a Python version. So we're going to use the latest one, Python 3.10.2. Grab this, bring it back to our app here, paste that, and now, whoops, now this file is good. We will also need a requirements.txt. So we're going to pip install pip freeze greater than symbol requirements.txt. That will write all of our packages inside of our folder here, or inside of our requirements.txt file. So Heroku needs this because it needs to know which versions of your Python packages that you're using. And one more thing that will be super important is our git ignore. So we're going to add that git ignore. And the first thing that we want to add here is our pip file. So the reason is because this is created by pip env, the pip env package. And by default, Heroku will, for some reason, prioritize this over requirements.txt. So I normally just add it to git ignore so it doesn't show up here. And now we will need more than just that in order to make our project extra nice and well built overall. So we're going to say, go to this website, gitignore.io, which I believe is run by TopTal now. So we're going to say Django in this search bar, create. And this is going to give us a nice pre-built gitignore file content for our Django app. So you can just copy all of this, come back to your project, go ahead and paste it right below. Oops. You can grab that pip file and put it under, I don't know, wherever .env is, or well, you can also just leave it at the top. That's also equally fine. And yeah, I believe that should be everything. So now we're also going to create an initial commit. So I'm going to say git init, initialize our repository. And I'm going to say git add git commit -m. So git commit -m. Oh wait, also I wanted to, let me double check our production development. Right, so right here, I forgot one step for our project to work locally. I'm going to add a media URL of media and a media root like that. This is going to go to media like so. And with that, we're going to need to go to our URLs, add the following. So if settings, and also let's import that first. So from django.conf, import settings, then from django.conf.urls.static, import static, like so. And down here, we're going to say if settings.debug, that's all. Then we're going to say URL patterns plus equals static URL document root equals, oh, sorry. Yeah, let's add settings to the front of this. Settings.url, static URL, then settings.static root, like that. You can copy that, replace the static with media on both of these. Media. There we go. Alrighty. So that's cool. Yeah, and I think that was the last thing that we needed to do. So git add again, git add, git commit -m, initial commit. So that should be all of the prep work that we have to do. Oh God, I forgot to add our template. So let's add that really quick as well. So we're going to create a templates file, then say home.html. Go right here, make a nice little template. So we got this basic blog like that. H1 all posts for posts and posts. Also, this is going to be in a UL tag. UL. It's going to be also a flex box. So style equals display flex flow column. And gap is going to be around 10 pixels just for the nice little styling. Then li, inside of that, we're going to have a div. This div is going to be styled with border 1 pixel solid black. We're going to add our title. So h2 post dot title. We're going to have our body. So post dot body. And underneath our title, we're going to have our image. So for this one, we're going to say if post dot image, and if have our image tag, image source equals post, let's see, post.image.url, close that. And also we're going to set an actual, I believe let's see, we'll set a height on this. So we're going to say height equals roughly 300 or so pixels. So that should be good. Yeah. And also, let's see if this actually works on our local host as well. So we're going to run our app. Oh, and I forgot to include that in our main URLs file. So let's import that. We're going to say from templates, or sorry, no, from blog.views import, or no, from blog import views as blog views. We're going to say path to nothing is going to be blog underscore views dot home, name equals home, because that's all we have is a blog app. So we'll just keep it relatively simple here. So let's go ahead and say pi manage.py run server. Get that there. Starting development server. So let's see if it runs locally or if we have any issues. Template syntax. All right, so looking for one of empty and for unclosed tag. Right, that's because I forgot to add the ending to our for loop. So let's go here at the bottom right here and for before the bottom of the UL tag. Get all that spacing nice and right. All righty, cool beans. So let's go back, refresh. And it should say all posts. Perfect. Now let's go to our admin. At this point, we're going to create our local super user. So let's see, we're going to stop that. I'm going to say pi manage.py. And actually, you know what? Pi manage.py run server. Keep the server running there. Let's split our terminal. And we're going to say pi manage.py create super user. Username is Zach. Let's get the email. Django123 for the password. Oh, Django123. There we go. All right, so now our server is still running, so we can just go right back and say whatever your username was and the password. Log in. Make sure our blog post is able to be created. Let's go ahead and go here. My first post, subscribe to Zach Plochet. There we go. That's a nice one. Let's pick a file. Let's pick one of my thumbnails. Of course, you don't have these, but I do. So click that. Let's save it. View the site, see if it worked, and boom. So it does work locally. Now this is being served only from our directory or from our current project because after we did that, we created this media folder and the picture ended up right here. So yep, that's one of my thumbnails. So it is working locally. Now we'll need to set up the Heroku part. So yeah, so that's cool. So let's do this. Oh, whoops, I just closed that window. Was Django S3 tutorial. Yep, Django Heroku S3. So yeah, now we're back here. Our local server definitely stopped running. Pip env shell. Just log back into our virtual environment. Get rid of that picture from right here. Now, for the next step, it will require you to have a Heroku account and have Heroku CLI installed on your computer already. So with that being said, you can find both of those. I mean, to go to Heroku, you just go to heroku.com and set up an account, follow their normal stuff. To get Heroku CLI, you Google it the same way. Click on the literal link that says Heroku CLI, and you would download this. Here's how you download it on Mac, Windows, and Ubuntu, which I can only assume is Linux, and they have more stuff. So that's cool. Now we're going to go here. We're going to say the following commands: Heroku apps create, and whatever your app name is, like once you have that installed. So I'm going to say, let's see, Zach P. Wait, what did I call it here? In our production. Beep. So that was Zach P basic Django blog. So basic Django blog, like that. And what this does is two things. So this command both created our project or a place for our application on Heroku, but also if we say get remote, it did add a get remote of Heroku. So whenever we say get push, normally you would say something around the lines of get push origin master. But with this, we're going to say something to push it to Heroku. You would say get push Heroku master instead. And yeah, that's essentially how that's going to happen. Now that we have this, let's go ahead and add our project here. So before this, there is another step. We need to set up some of our config variables on Heroku. So to do that, you will log into Heroku. So I'll log in off the screen here, heroku.com. I should already be logged in, but sometimes that is not the case. All right, yeah, so we'll log in. So now we're logged in. I clicked on my app in my Heroku dashboard, and I'm going to go to settings. So now that we have our application, in order to get this to work a bit better, you're going to want to go to your settings. So all the way on the right of this little top bar up here, open up your config variables like I just did. So these are your basically environment variables for Heroku. And we're going to set a couple of settings here. So for example, one of the ones that we're going to set is our secret key. And to generate this, that's where Django extensions comes into play. We're going to say py manage.py, or Python manage.py generate secret key. And that's going to generate this for us. So we can grab this, copy that, go up back to Heroku, enter in the value, add it, boom. All right, so that one is now saved in our environment, which is one of the required ones for our production code. So we have secret key, and we need to add AWS access key ID, AWS secret key, or secret access key, and AWS storage bucket name, all of which I actually need to create. So there will be those, but before that, we are able to set a few. So manage.py, we're going to go here, and now I'm going to show you how to set a config or an environment variable for Heroku from your command line. So you're going to say Heroku config set Django settings module equals, and you're not going to put any string or anything around this, any quotes. So you're going to say config or whatever your folder name is, settings.production or .prod, and enter. And that's going to set that one. And yeah, so those are the only two first ones that we're going to add. And also, while we're here, we can also add our Heroku database. So this one is going to be free. So to find that, you're going to type in Heroku free database. At least that's how you can initially find it. And we're going to click on Heroku Postgres because Heroku does come with a free database that you can use, and it's super easy to set up. So if you come to this page, you scroll down until you see this little guy. So install Heroku Postgres. You're going to copy this or type it out, but Heroku add-ons create Heroku Postgres SQL hobby dev. So we're going to paste that. That's going to create our Heroku Postgres database for us. And once that is up, we can say Heroku config if you want to see the values for your stuff. And boom. Yeah. So now this is where, so DJ database URL is automatically going to get this because, well, that's just how it works. And that's the way that you set this up. You can see all of our other settings though. So, or all of our other settings here. So that is good. All right, now time for setting up or getting our AWS S3 credentials so we know what to do here. I'm not going to show you every single step here, but I will point out a good article on where to find these. And in fact, let's do that right now. If I type in Django S3, the second article here, how to set up Amazon S3 in a Django project by, I believe it's Vitor, let's see. Yeah, I don't know how to say his name exactly, but I'm going to say Vitor Freitas. I hope that's right. Probably not. But this guy is amazing, and he does have a YouTube channel that I linked to on a previous video, and I believe I'll link to it in this one as well. So yeah, check out this article. I'll leave it in the description, and you will be able to walk through it and set up all of your AWS credentials and whatnot here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into AWS. So this is going to be another off-camera thing. So AWS. All right, so once you're logged in, you should see a dashboard like this. Boom. You're going to want to go to, so we're going to need two things. First, we're going to need our security credentials. And it's fine that I'm showing you this because everything that I make right now is going to get deleted at some point or pretty much immediately after I make this video. So let's go here. Type in IAM to the top search bar, and you should see a pop-up that says do that. I'm going to go to users. So you should follow this article and generate all of this stuff on your own. I'm just showing you the part where you actually generate these secret keys. So you're going to want to click on your user with the full S3 Bodo 3 permissions. Go to security credentials on this next page and create an access key. So yep, never post blah, 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 blah on public platforms and yep, all of that. We're going to go here. We're going to copy this secret access key and also the access key ID here. So grab this, copy. We're going to go back to our, let's see. Yeah, so we're going to go to Heroku and we're going to say, looking back at our settings here inside of production. So these config variables, we're going to say Heroku config set AWS access key ID equals that code. Then we're going to grab the secret access key. And this one, because it is a bit longer here, it might not work to do it in your command line. So we're just going to copy this, grab it, go to your config variables. And also, if you refresh, you'll see all of these again. Boop. All right, so reveal the vars. We're going to go here, AWS secret access key, paste that here. like so. And let's see. Now we need to create our actual S3 bucket. So now we're going to do that because, and I'm showing you this, so pay attention because this is an important part in order to get this to work without any real complications. So we're going to click on storage in this little menu up here, click on S3. That's going to load this page. Alrighty. Now we're going to click on, we're going to create a new bucket. So let's see, S3, yep. So you're going to name your bucket something unique. So I'm going to call this Zach P basic blog bucket, like so. That's good. Basic blog bucket. So this part's important. Object ownership. You're going to want to make ACLs enabled, and after that, you're going to turn off this block public access settings because you want your photos to be able to be viewed publicly, and then create your bucket, just like so. Yeah, and so you're going to grab your bucket name. So Zach P basic blog bucket is what I called this one. You'll name it whatever yours is. Go back to our config variables in Heroku. Paste that here. And then what did we call that? AWS, I think it's storage bucket name. I'm going to type that. Let's make sure before I press enter. Storage bucket name, yes, it is. So go ahead and add. And with all of this in place, now is the magical moment where we get to see whether or not our app is going to work. So we're going to say git add, get, actually, let's see, get status. Yeah, git commit -m, add template. If you forgot to add the home template there, and connect it to urls.py. And now we're going to say git push Heroku master. So ideally, there's no problems here. All right, so it looks like it worked initially, hypothetically. So let's type in Heroku open and see if this actually works. So, all right, so our blog is here. If we go to admin, there should be styling. If there's not, then there's likely a problem. All right, so there is styling, which means that AWS S3 worked. And we can see by going to our bucket here, so basic blog bucket, we'll see, let's see, no objects yet. Let's see here. If we refresh that. Okay, so no objects yet, it says. Okay, so let's try to upload something. Oh, also, we'll need to create a super user. So we're going to say Heroku run bash. So this is how you get into basically your terminal, but on Heroku. All right, so we're here. We're going to say Python manage.py create super user. And then say username, I'm going to call this Zach, no email, Django123, Django123. All right, so now we're here. Let's go here, Django123. Let's create a blog post, try to add an image and see if it actually works. And let's go. So add a blog post, my first post. Subscribe to Mr. Beast and buy Stas's NFT because it's actually art. Nice. All right. Now we're going to choose a file. And let's see, which thumbnail do I want to use here? We'll use this guy or this speedrun one that's all crazy like. All right, so add that. And okay, so it says it went through successfully. Let's try to add another one here. We're going to say, hello, how you doing? Just like this. Choose a file, pick something else. And yeah, why not that one? So wait for that. Okay, so it says it was created. Okay, so it was pushed here. So in this basic blog bucket, if that is what I called it, we should see our at least media files up here. Okay, yeah, so static folder was created. blog. Okay, so blog images in here. Now there is some interesting behavior because what I don't see is I don't see why the static files that are serving the Django admin are currently working because those are not showing up inside of our environment. So to check this, I'm going to say Python. So in our bash here, I'm going to say first ls. All right, so static files was set on development. Why did that happen? Let's see, if we go to production, static files storage. Maybe we might need to set static files equals true. Maybe that's it. Otherwise, I mean, it is technically working, but let's see. Like, okay, so what happens if we say Python manage.py collect static here? What does it say? Collect static. Yes. You have requested destination specified in your settings app static files. I don't know what settings it's talking about there. So I'm going to try that again. Settings, config, or let's see, manage.py collect static, config, or sorry, settings equals config dot settings dot prod. Oh, whoops. Okay, so that's acting slightly strange. So I want to see what happens if I get rid of the static root here for static files, or see if we exit out of here, or if I set the see Django settings module config.settings.production. Okay, so that's okay. So that's actually kind of strange. Why would that possibly be happening? Loading. Okay. And it's sure it's not here. So at least our media files are uploading, but our static files should too. Okay, so essentially, well, okay. All right, so I figured it out. What I missed, let's see. So as you can see in our folder now, there is admin and Django extension stuff. So what happened here is there's a setting that I forgot to add here, or I think I added it, but I added the wrong thing. It's saying static files equals false. So this makes it to where Heroku does not take care of your static files and serving them on their own server. So it can serve your static files, but it's not really recommended, and it's better to use something like AWS S3. So if you want to be able to, whenever you get push, it automatically pushes all of your static files to AWS S3 as well. You need to add this one. And yeah, so once you add that, you can just say git add. Oh, also, just so this can work normally on local, I uncommented that for testing, and let's see, git add git commit -m fix static files going to Heroku's repo, and then yep, git push Heroku master once again, and at this point it should be pretty much done. So let's see. Okay, so on this part, as you can see, it's actually taking longer. whenever it's collecting static, and that's because now it's actually interacting with AWS S3 in order to collect all of these static files and throw them in our S3 bucket. So as long as this succeeds, which it should. All right. Yep, so that worked. Yeah, so it just says they're copied now. It doesn't say like anything about where. It just says that they are in fact copied. And let's see. Yep, so it was released. Let's open our site and see if everything is still there, specifically in the admin, because that's where the only static files are. So once that's there, we're going to say Heroku open to open up our site in our browser. And so first the front page, yep, those pictures are there. Let's go to admin and make sure that they are being served from the right spot. So if we look at the head, okay, yeah, so right here we can see href, https, zacp, basic blog, bucket, S3, Amazon, blah, 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 blah. So with all of that said, that means that our application worked. So that is the full tutorial. Thank you for watching. Yeah, sorry about those few little glitches there, but hopefully this was valuable and showed you the entire process of setting up a Django project with on Heroku using AWS S3 to serve static files and media files. So if you like the content, please subscribe. And yeah, pretty soon I will be doing, let's see. I'm figuring out how to set up OBS a bit nicer on my computer because currently it's taking up all my CPU and it makes my code editors run extremely slow. So we are working on that. And yep, either way, overall, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And yep, bye for now.